Watch a stone drop to the ground, or a fire reach toward the ceiling. Today, we explain these movements with gravity and thermodynamics. For 2,000 years, humans looked at these exact same events and saw something entirely different. They believed these objects were moving because they possessed a desire. In 4th century BC Greece, Aristotle looked out at a world in constant flux. Without telescopes, satellite data, or Newtonian physics, he had to build a unified theory of why things move from pure observation. His answer was a concept called telos, meaning purpose or goal. In his framework, an object doesn't move because a blind mechanical force pushes it. It moves because it is actively striving to reach its ultimate destination. As he wrote in Book 2 of his Physics, the nature is the end or that for the sake of which. A thing's nature is defined by where it is trying to go. Under this framework, the universe is a living, purposeful system where every single action has a targeted destination. To map out these destinations, Aristotle started at the absolute center of everything, the Earth. We often assume placing Earth at the center of the cosmos was an act of human arrogance. In Aristotelian physics, it was simply a matter of physical weight. The heaviest things sink to the bottom. This diagram illustrates how Aristotle organized the sublunary, or earthly, universe. He stacked the 4 elements into concentric spheres based on their natural resting places: Earth at the very center, wrapped by water, then air, and finally fire on the outer edge. Because Earth and water are heavy, their telos is to constantly strive downward. They naturally migrate towards that absolute center point, piling up to form the ground we walk on and the oceans that pool above it. Air and fire have the opposite purpose. They are light, so their desire is to rush upward, seeking the absolute periphery of this earthly realm. Aristotle explains this dynamic in Book 8 of the Physics, noting that the activity of lightness consists of being high up. When a light object is trapped down below, it is actively being prevented from fulfilling its nature. An object's location in this universe is entirely dictated by its internal identity. To fall or to rise is simply an element trying to return home. This brings us to Aristotle's philosophical definition of motion. He defined it purely as the transitional journey from potentiality to actuality. He called it the fulfillment of the movable insofar as it is movable. A log of wood is potentially fire. The physical act of burning is that potential becoming actual. Not all movement is a peaceful journey home. If you throw a rock into the sky, you are forcing an earthly element against its natural downward trajectory. Aristotle categorized this as violent motion. Whenever an object is subjected to violent motion, it enters a state of tension. It will perpetually fight against that opposing force to correct its displacement. What we perceive as earthly chaos, devastating storms, falling debris, evaporating water, is actually displaced matter desperately trying to heal itself and return to a state of rest. This framework creates a massive cosmic contradiction. If all elements simply want to reach their natural resting place and stop moving, why do the stars and planets continue to orbit us night after night, never stopping? To solve this, Aristotle concluded that the heavens must be made of an entirely different substance than the Earth. He introduced a 5th element, aether. Looking at this expanded diagram, we see a massive outer sphere encompassing the earthly elements. This is the realm of aether. Unlike earth or fire, aether's natural motion isn't a straight line up or down. Its telos is eternal, perfect circular rotation. Aristotle was a relentless logician. He reasoned that even if this celestial motion is eternal and perfect, it still requires an originating cause to drive it. Because the heavens operate outside the bounds of earthly physics, their unending energy must be sustained by a supreme ultimate principle. The strict rule of Aristotelian physics is that all motion must eventually trace back to a primary cause. You cannot have an infinite chain of things pushing other things. This logic leads to the climax of his entire system, a divine, unchangeable first principle he called the unmoved mover. This animated model shows how the unmoved mover operates. It doesn't cause motion by physically pushing the spheres. Instead, it acts like a magnet. It initiates movement entirely by being the ultimate object of desire. The cosmos rotates endlessly because the ether is attempting to imitate the absolute perfection of this unmoved mover. It moves in a circle because a circle is the closest a physical object can get to eternity. We now know the physics of this model are incorrect, but Aristotle's cosmos was a masterpiece of meaning. He mapped a universe completely devoid of empty space, where every single particle, from a clod of dirt to a burning star, had a home, a purpose, and a reason to be exactly where it was.